Okay, I had the Curtis Flowers document about how he sued the prosecutor that tried him 6 times for the same case. And as I read through this article, it says that the charges were dropped in 2019, and I remember that the actual case of the murders started in like 1997, I think. Yeah. It says Curtis Flowers was arrested in 1997. So that shows that he spent 23 years in prison before he was actually accused of being, not accused, but like being proven that he was innocent and didn't commit the crimes. And this was interesting to me because, how do you spend 23 years in prison when you don't have like a final decision of the case? I know that he was tried 6 times for it and they ultimately just put him in prison. But like, how do you stay in there that long and then all of a sudden one day in 2019 the charges are just dropped? And it says he was released in 2019 and charges against him were dropped the following year. So it took a year after he was out to have all the charges dropped for all different counts of murder. After he got out, he sued the district attorney that tried him 6 times for the same case. And misconduct to fabricate the case that should never been brought. So basically all the people, the defendants in the case, they did not immediately respond to requests for a comment about the case, and some of them couldn't even be reached. And it says, in a statement on Friday, Rob McDuff of the Mississippi Center for Justice, Mr. Flowers' lawyer, said that his client should have never been charged in the first place in 1997, and it took him 23 years to have all the charges be dropped. And then it says that before he was convicted for like 6 times or tried for the case 6 times, he was a 26-year-old with no criminal record, and there's nothing wrong with his history, and there's nothing that would lead up to him to commit a crime like this. And they basically concluded that it was brought by racial discrimination, and that was their only reason. Mr. McDuff, his lawyer, said that would have been the only reason he would be accused. And it was a pretty big accusation for quadruple murder. And you don't just go upon someone and be like, oh yeah, you did it, let's put you in jail for 23 years. Like, that's not something you play about. So everyone's wondering why he was tried so many times and no actual evidence of him being there, of him having any motive to use it, was correct. And then they created the In the Dark podcast, which we've been listening to. And it breaks down like the whole case, and it shows different point of views from like the murderer's family, Mr. Flowers, and like all the evidence that was used to conclude that they had a reason that Curtis did this. And it says it was in a furniture store in Winona, Mississippi in 1996, and then he was accused in 1997, so it took a whole year for someone to finally conclude that it was him. And it was a robbery as well, not just a murder. And it says no plausible motive tied Mr. Flowers to the crimes. He was a gospel singer. He had a religion background, no criminal record. And he got let go of the job before, so that was like their only reason why they had an accusation against him to commit the crime, because it was committed at his job he apparently got fired from recently. And he was sentenced to death, which tells me that people thought this was a very big crime and deserved to be, like, he deserved the worst that you could do in prison. it says that a Supreme Court majority opinion Justice Brett Kavanaugh wrote that equal justice under law requires a criminal trial free of racial discrimination in the jury selection process. This is not the case in this trial. They definitely went based on discrimination, racial discrimination, because there was no other viable evidence that could tell someone that Curtis Flowers did this crime. And it says the Supreme Court Justice wrote, the state wanted to try Mr. Flowers ideally before an all-white jury. This tells you that there was very racial motives to this case, and that's why he could possibly be tried 6 times for the same exact case. And they ordered him to pay $500,000. They ordered the state to pay Curtis $500,000 to for wrongfully imprisoning him for more than 20 years. I feel like that would be not enough because you just took away my whole life from 1997 to 2019. That's a big gap of your life that you'd be gone, and $500,000 will just make up for that. Compensation, and then Mississippi have passed a new law in 2009 to provide compensation, which means to provide money and give back money to people who were wrongfully convicted and imprisoned for felony crimes. This leads me to think about, what if you are not finally in prison? You're not in prison, but you're on trial, and they figure out that that you did not actually commit the crime. You were in prison, you weren't sentenced. Do you think they'd still give compensation to those people, or do you have to be convicted and be in jail? And I feel like it's a good law because you just took away this whole person's life. It could hurt them down in the future for getting jobs and creating a full, successful life. And then it says all the details of the case and the public and the source publication for this article. So, yeah.